Alright, YouTube, I have very few positive things to say about Donald Trump, the former president of the US, and quite frankly, someone who I fucking despise, generally speaking, and someone who I just could not stand politically and personally, and you go down the list, and I've discussed that multiple times. But there's one thing that I will say about him that's different than what we got with Joe Biden. Gas prices were definitely lower under him than they are now. And that's actually one of the topics I wanted to discuss today with regards to other world affairs and news coverage, you name it. Because a few of my fans, including Space Voyager, told me about the gas prices in California and just how unbelievably insane they are. In addition to the cost of living there in general, I mean, they make Massachusetts look like completely cheap in comparison, but that's a whole nother thing. So the rise in gas prices, it is a very, very bad thing, and it's felt everywhere. I mean, gas prices in Massachusetts, if you'd believe it, were relatively inexpensive. It was less than $3. It was as little as $2 a gallon in some places, especially in the more rural areas of Massachusetts, and especially in the central and western parts of Massachusetts. And definitely were cheaper other places, but even in inexpensive places, they're going up. Like, I have friends on this website that are from different parts of the country that are definitely cheaper than California, and they are saying that, yeah, gas is more than $3 a gallon here in Ohio. In Texas, they're going up. In Florida, they're going up. When they used to be cheap, everything was cheaper and whatnot. So yeah, the rise in gas prices. Now, see, I want to debunk the whole theory that the rise in gas prices and what the cause of what it really all comes down to is. It really isn't tied to just one person. So, like, you got the right wing that'll just blame Joe Biden for every problem, even though a lot of our problems that we're facing as a nation is because of fucking Trump. We're still cleaning up after his fucking mess. So one of the things is that, the rise in gas prices is because of Trump and they were simply because of Trump. Wrong. The left wing says that. The right wing says, it's simply because of Joe Biden. No, wrong. Some say, it's just because of Vladimir Putin. No, wrong. The reason for the rise in gas prices is because of the oil companies. Is because of the corrupt fucking oil companies. And the fact that we as a nation are in the midst of a global pandemic. We're in the midst of practically on the border of a borderline World War fucking III with Russia and Ukraine. And the oil companies and the gas companies see that as a reason to jack up the fucking prices. And they're jacking up the fucking prices as time goes on. But so with the world going to shit and going to hell in a fucking handbasket, it's because it's largely because of fucking Putin, because Putin's a piece of shit. And it has to do with a lot of different things, but it has to do with that. And the oil companies in this country are fucking corrupt. A lot of big corporations in this country are fucked up. The US is an oligarchy. Like, there's no question about it. I am surprised that our country is even considered a developed nation as opposed to a developing nation. Like, I'm surprised. I think sooner or later the U.S. is going to get downgraded to a developing nation like Brazil and Eastern Europe and so on. And India, and you go down the list. So it really has to do with that. So the rise in oil prices is because of all this fucking shit going on. All these global problems that are going on with Russia and Ukraine. So it's tied to that. And then, Biden, of course, being more, obviously he's a Democrat. He's a fucking corporatist. So what Biden is doing, and this is tied to Biden in his corrupt dealings with gas companies and whatnot, because he's a corporatist, no different than the neocons and the fucking corporatists on the right wing. Like, Joe Biden is a fucking right winger, okay? He just has a D at the end of his name, okay? Just because Joe Biden claims he's a Democrat, he's a fucking right winger, okay? Because in this country, we have right-wing fucking parties. The U.S. is a fucking right-wing country by every stretch of the imagination. We don't have a liberal party in this country. We either have a fucking right-wing extreme party, which is what the Republican Party is at this point, with only a few halfway decent ones in there. One of them being Charlie Baker, governor of Massachusetts. And then you got the Democratic Party that is basically a fucking moderate right-wing party. They're like a fucking corporatist party. They are a diet right-wing party. So you look at all the issues that are here. There is nothing about it. There's no good that comes out of the two-party system of this country. So it's the two-party system and the raging wars with Russia and Ukraine and so on. So it's all that, and the gas companies in this country that are rife with corruption. So all of that is what's leading to the rise in gas prices. The fucking World Banks and all these other fucking criminal groups, Rothschilds, the fucking Rothschilds and Rockefellers are just... They're just having a field day fucking the American people over. Because that's what these fucking rich assholes do. These fucking rich oil companies do. These corrupt oil companies do. Because our country is a courtocracy. Our country has turned into a courtocracy. It has been a courtocracy since the end of World War II. At least since Dwight Eisenhower has been in there. At least since then. It's been that way for fucking ever. So... But what do we as Americans need to do to change it? What do we need to do to fix it? What we need to do is there needs to be some kind of way to get a person like a person that is a progressive left-wing person. And I know that some of my conservative listeners don't want to hear that, but in all honesty, that's really what it's going to require. Okay? It's going to require something like that. Fundamental change. Like we had with Franklin Delano Roosevelt. You know, Franklin Delano Roosevelt is the reason why our country has halfway decent social programs in certain instances, like Social Security and so on. Okay, Social Security has saved lives. It has saved millions upon millions of elderly people who live in poverty. So yes, the U.S. does have halfway decent things because we are at least a first world nation in those instances. But if you look at we have much to do on our fucking for-profit health insurance system, our crumbling infrastructure. There's all sorts of different things that our country needs to do, and the fucking oil companies and this ridiculous gap, this obscene gap between the rich and the poor, us being a fucking oligarchy and controlled by two right-wing parties, a fucking alt-right party, a mix of alt-right and neocons, and then a mix of diet Republicans and fucking corporate Democrats. All of which are a bunch of fucking capitalist assholes. A bunch of capitalist, corporatist assholes. These people who run our country are fucking assholes. Like, how else do you want me to say it? I'm not going to mince words about it. Because it's ridiculous. Like, our country, it's just, we've got so many problems. And yes, there are many problems that we are facing, and we're facing it as a world society. We're facing all these things as a world society. The one thing I can give Joe Biden credit on for the whole Russia-Ukraine thing is at least he's not escalating with Russia. Because if Trump was in there, Trump would have just let Vladimir Putin take fucking Ukraine. You know he would. He would, because his fucking butt buddy Putin, he'd let him do whatever the fuck he wanted. And then you got the neocons on his side that would tell Trump to bomb fucking Russia. Trump would be so fucking stupid, because he is fucking stupid. Trump is legitimately fucking retarded. He is illegitimate, but he is seriously fucking retarded. He would have probably fucking invaded them and started World War III. The only thing in this instance is Joe Biden is doing the sanctions on the oligarchs in Russia, which I agree with. I agree with sanctioning those people and Putin and cutting him off from the rest of the world. I disagree with some of the sanctions going as far as to cut Russian civilians and banks off from the world, because that's only going to harm the people. And it's not like our country aren't strangers to our own warmongering. Yes, Vladimir Putin's a warmonger, and he's a piece of shit. But so isn't every single president of this country, except with maybe JFK and Jimmy Carter. We're the only ones that did not start fucking illegal wars for no fucking reason. Okay, even Obama, and I have mostly positive things to say about Obama, but even Obama had his fucking raging cases of wars and shit, and Biden, same thing. Okay, so when it comes to diplomacy and so on, Biden is better than Trump, but only by a little bit. Okay, he's still an imperialist through and through because the military-industrial complex runs the show. So we got to change that and the two-party system. That's what's leading the rise in gas prices. The corruption, the oligarchy, and the gas prices. It's not just simply because of Biden. It's not simply because of Trump. It's not simply because of anything. It's just the fundamental problems in this country and then the global crises that we're facing as a nation and as a global society and all these things. And the gas companies in our country and in other oligarchic parts of the world that use these crises as an excuse to jack up the prices on innocent civilians. Because they don't give a shit about innocent civilians. Like, innocent civilians waiting in a line at the gas station. They could give a shit less about the people. They could give two shits less. Absolutely not. They could care less. You know? And I've said this before. This is exactly why. And then you know what happens with all this whole thing about Russia and whatnot? This is why you got Syria in bed with Russia. Bashar al-Assad in bed with Russia. And I'm perfectly okay with that. I don't care. That's why Venezuela and Cuba are supporting Russia. And you can understand where they're coming from. Because of what the military-industrial complex is doing to them. You know, Bashar al-Assad said, you know, what's in the West's interest, what is not in the West's interest is an enemy of the West. What is in their interest, they are their friends, or something along those lines. He said that the other day. I'll link it in the description. But he's on to something. And that's the reason why so many of these countries don't like Bashar al-Assad. Not because of that. Oh, Bashar al-Assad is a dictator. Yeah, well, let's cue to Anna Kasparian. Fuck you, right? Yeah. The reason being, now, by the way, Anna Kasparian, fuck you. The only reason that our country doesn't like Bashar al-Assad, saying he's a dictator. Oh, really? Bashar al-Assad is a dictator. Except the fact that Bashar al-Assad is probably the most secular leader in the Middle East. Okay? He is probably the most secular leader in the Middle East as opposed to our fucking Arab butt-buddy dictatorships in Saudi Arabia and Turkey and Qatar. Oh yeah, Qatar is funding the Young Turks and Al Jazeera. Well, Turkey is not Arab, but they're a fucking dictatorship and they're on the side of the U.S. on all these different things, including Syria, Sunni, Shia, you name it. So all these, and the reason being is because Syria is one of the few countries without a World Bank. They don't have a World Bank, okay? So they don't have a World Bank. So they don't deal with the fucking Rothschilds and the Rockefellers and all these corrupt oligarchic assholes. Syria doesn't have these problems. These countries like Cuba and Venezuela and Syria that the military-industrial complex has a hate boner for in this country, they don't have a World Bank. They don't have these corrupt assholes there. So they're an enemy of the World Bank. They're an enemy in the eyes of the military-industrial complex and the World Banks. They're in the Rothschilds, the Rockefellers, and all these other fucking criminal groups. They're all enemies of each other. They're like the enemies of them. So therefore, what do? We don't like them, so we try to start wars with them. The U.S. tries to start wars with them. The U.S. government tries to start wars with them, Democrats and Republicans. So then that pushes Syria, Venezuela, and Cuba and other nations into the hands of Russia and China. So that's why even when Vladimir Putin does shit like this, they have to walk a fine line and support that. There you have it. That's what it comes down to. So all of these raging crises that the military-industrial complex starts on a daily basis and constantly needs an enemy. Oh, Daniel Ortega. Oh, Nicolas Maduro. Oh, my God. The left-leaning leaders that are in power in Bolivia. Oh, my God. These countries that are not Team USA. Oh, they're our enemies. Oh, the left-leaning people, leaders in Argentina. Oh, God forbid, right? Yep. Gotta start wars with them. Gotta fucking start a coup with them to put in right-wing dictators. Oh yeah, Janine Áñez in Bolivia. Crimes against humanity. Oh, no, she's great. Yep, support her. To put a coup up against Evo Morales in Bolivia, Bolivia's most secular leader and first indigenous president, starting those problems and then doing it to Nicaragua against Daniel Ortega, who was an enemy of the right-wing rebels that Ronald Reagan incited and backed and trained and funded against the left in Nicaragua, that was on the side of Daniel Ortega in Nicaragua. Same thing. So all of this in this oligarchy, and by the way, this also was a part of the drug war. You know, the drug war that locked up tens of thousands of racial minorities in this country for minor drug offenses and so on. Yeah, that was Richard Nixon's legacy. That was Ronald Reagan's legacy. That's the fucking right wing's legacy. That's the corporate Democrats' legacy. And then starting this and the drug war and all these things with these small countries for drugs and things like that. So this is what leads to the problems we are facing as a country today, including the rise in gas prices. Our country is lacking leadership, and this is the problem. Even someone like Joe Biden, because it doesn't take much to be better than fucking Trump. But the thing is, it's status quo. It's business as usual. That's not what we need. We need fundamental change as a nation if we want to get serious on this. And the status quo is not going to get us where we need to be. It's not going to get us to be like the Scandinavian region. It's not going to get us to be like every modern nation in the world that has universal health care, universal education, paid vacation time by law, and all the things that the modern that Canada has and the UK has and Norway and Sweden and Denmark and Finland have and all other developed first world democracies have. So yeah, status quo as usual, that's not going to get us where we need to be. That's the reason for the rise in gas prices, and that's the reason why we are facing the problems that we are facing today. Fuck these oligarchic assholes. They can all go fuck themselves. Fuck every single one of them. So anyway, I'm going to wrap it up here. And thank you all for listening. Hope you all enjoyed this video. Stay tuned for more content coming up your way soon. More videos on the way. This is Zach the Celtics guy saying thank you for watching. Stay safe out there. Stay tuned for more and more content coming your way soon. This shit needs fixing, and we must do everything we can to defeat oligarchy and corruption, because it is all the enemies of this country. It's the real enemies of this country, and we need to defeat that enemy, because the status quo is not going to get us where we need to be. Peace out.